All right, so I've got some really cool stuff to share with you. Basically, it comes down to the regen of these 3.0 Duramax diesels. How often are they performing a regen and completing it? Are they constantly doing the active regen or the passive regen? Let me show you that they do actually do more active regens than you may think. All right, so mileage right now is 4750, and we are showing 27% on the DPF, which shows that we just completed a full regen while driving. You got to 100, stayed at 100 for, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 miles. I'm not sure, I didn't watch it from the beginning. But 4750, 25%, and it's going down with idle because I shut it off when I got to work. So as I continue driving, it's going to continue going down a little bit as it's reading all the sensors and everything. So I hooked up my truck. It's a 23 LZ0 Duramax diesel. So if you're not familiar with the LZ0 LM2, LM2 is the very first version of the 3.0 Duramax diesel, and the LZ0 is the second version. The emissions are a little different from the two of them, but the regen process is pretty much the same. All right, so just a heads up, I am using the Banks iDash on my truck, and this allows me to see the percentage of the particulate filter or the soot mass of the exhaust after treatment system. And when I see that it gets to 100%, I'm able to just continue driving and it'll perform a complete regen to bring that number all the way down, down below 30 typically, but sometimes you'll see 0%. Like my most recent one actually done today was 0%, and that's what kind of sparked this. So I caught a picture of the regen starting at 100%, and then when it was done, I got to work, and I'll tell you, it all worked out perfect. All right, so let's look at some data. As we can see here, this is the 23 LZ0 engine, and if we click through with this GDS2 software, we end up at the after treatment data and see that I have completed 11 regens. So let's take this one step further now and let's see the average distance between the regens. And it shows 432 miles. So in my case, my truck has been initiating and completing a regen every 432 miles. So now, one more thing that I want to show you, and this is really neat, and I'm kind of proud of this, to be honest with you. This is the average duration of a regen, which is 8.42 minutes. That's extremely quick. So if you think about it, if you're going 60 miles an hour, you're finishing it in just under 8.5 minutes. So that puts you at 8.5 miles, which that's a really quick regen. And the way that I'm able to pull this off is with the Banks iDash. So I monitor the DPF percentage, and I have it as a little warning. So when I hit 95%, it starts to kind of warn me. So then I can kind of plan. All right, so we're getting close. Let's go ahead and plan for a bit of a longer drive. And in my case this morning, it was actually just a regen this morning, and it worked out perfect on my commute because I left the house at 99% or 98%, and boom, it was at 100%. By the time I got to work, boom, completed. All right, so once it gets to 100%, I know it's going to initiate a regen, and the best thing that I can do is continue driving, like I just said. So the reason for this is because this lets the exhaust system burn off everything in one full swoop. So prior to having this gauge, I didn't know when it was going to regen, and it would just do it on its own. And typical owners, that's going to be perfectly fine for them because the system's so advanced and so smart that it's just going to do it on its own. But think about this, all right? So it's in regen, but you don't know about it. And you're driving home, and you just shut the truck off, right? So everything's all burning hot, and you just shut it off. All right, so the system's made to handle this. But now when you go to restart it, everything has to be brought back up to temperature, and you're wasting fuel doing that because it has to use the fuel to bring up the temperature. And it's a high temperature in this exhaust system. It's over 1,000 degrees to fully light this after treatment system. All right, so let's talk about what happens when it is in regen. So the engine actually becomes a little bit louder. If you're at a stoplight and you start to accelerate a little bit, you're probably going to hear a little bit more noise out of the engine area. You may smell a little bit of a burning type smell just because everything is so hot. But that's basically it. Honestly, if you're watching your fuel mileage up on your gauge, you'll see that the fuel mileage is actually lower than normal. So that's an indicator that you're in regen. Other than that, I mean, most of the time you're really not even going to notice it's in regen when it is. And like I said, it's going to happen roughly, well, in my case, it's happening roughly every 400 miles. So it's going to be roughly the same for you. So every 400 miles or so, it's going to kick itself into regen, and you may be on the freeway at that time. You may just be, I don't know, going back and forth. But there's a couple little indicators, but most of the people won't even recognize it, to be honest with you.